just trying to learn how to play jazz music, and I got a call from well, actually, I called. I just moved to LA and was trying to get to know people out there, and I had been living in Houston. Moved to LA. I called a friend of mine, asked him to recommend a bass player out there, so I could have a bass player in LA to work with. He said, well, you should call Ricky Minor, and you seen Ricky on the Tonight Show, the Jay Leno show. Well, before that, he was on American Idol. Before that, he was with the Houston's musical director. But before that, he was Whitney's bass player. And at the time I met him, he was a bass player, and I called him to ask him to come play a jazz gig with me. And I was, it pays so much money, blah, blah, blah. Can you be there at this time? So we went and we played this gig, and I was kind of auditioning him in a way. Well, as it turns out, he was auditioning me too. I just didn't know it. Because he called me the next day, I thought he was going to ask me for work or something. He called me and said, well, man, I like the way you play. I'm like, wait a minute, I hired you. He's like, I like the way you play, man, and I play with Whitney, right? See, I know. He said, well, what I didn't tell you last night was I just got promoted. Look at your neighbor and say, God can promote you. God can promote you, but he will normally do that in the process of you striving for excellence. I don't know. That's not a popular message. You can pray all you want. You see, God, I'm crying out to you, God. You promote me, dude. Pastor said, not pastor, but this prophet said, this is my year, this is your year, and God's just going to do for you. And I'm like, look, are you working on your craft? Are you practicing? Because then you position yourself for God to promote you. But anyway, Ricky got promoted. Baby girl is here today. I just want to mention the fact that one of the baddest drummers in the world is sitting right there. I know what I'm talking about. I love you more. She knows what I'm talking about. You can't just walk up in there and play with Michael McDonald. No, you got to be able to do. You got to know the business. You got to know. You got to be able to read music. You got to know. You got to know the stuff. There's no shortcuts. Somebody said there's no shortcuts. God will promote you, but he normally promotes folk who are working, trying to do the thing right. Anyway, so Ricky Minor says, he said, yeah, well, I got promoted. Now I'm not just bass player. I'm Whitney's musical director. And how would you like to go on the road with Whitney Houston? I'm like, ain't that a blip? I just hired him. He's getting ready to hire me. Well, at the time, actually, Pastor, I was kind of ambivalent, really, because I'm out here doing jazz, and this is what I want to do, and I'm fulfilled, and yet, I'm not making a lot of money, and it's up and down, but I know what I'm supposed to be doing, so I'm working hard. God is providing, my family, we doing okay, but he said, well, I said, man, I don't know, I've never done that, I never played with a pop star. He said, well, let me put it like this. We're going to be on the road for about a year straight, and then we'll take a month off, we'll be on the air, or another 6 months or whatever. He said, it pays X amount of dollars, consistently. And that word consistently, that was the one that really got my attention. And musicians, we'd be like, what? Hold on a second. And when I started doing the math, I had to sit down. God can promote you. But at that time, I made the decision based on, two things. One, it might be nice to have a little stability, from my family, and another thing I said, man, would it be awesome for me to stand back from the front stage and go over here and support somebody else. In other words, to facilitate, hold on, I'm getting ready, that's a little sermon, y'all ready for this little part here? To stand to the side and facilitate someone else's dream. We don't like to hear that, especially musicians. God has anointed me to, I'm supposed to minister and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do you know how to work behind somebody? Well, that was what I learned with Whitney Houston. For 7 years, I toured, and I sat there in the background, and first of all, she was a beautiful, physically beautiful person, and she was a spiritually beautiful person. And I took my place, my role very seriously. I was there to pray for her and just to lift her up as she sang. And we would just be praying, Paul Jackson Jr., Ricky Minor, and Ricky Lawson, and we were just praying. We would be praying before the gig, and we'd be praying during the gig, and there's no wonder that her star was rising, because we were lifting her up, that God would protect her, you see. But then somehow we got out of the mix, and that's a long story. But during that time, I used to do Bible studies for the band. I would write them up on my little laptop. At the time it was a big deal to have a laptop. It was heavy too. And so I used to do Bible studies, and I would have all the verses lined up, and I would print that stuff out, because I wanted, even though they kept her so busy, the thing about fame and success is that the devil, he doesn't mind you being successful, because success is something that can distract you sometimes from God's perfect will for your life, and success can divert your attention so much so that you get sidetracked, and not only that, you're physically worn out. Michael and Down, sometimes they just wear the man out. After you finally done with the show, then you got to go, you sign autographs, and then you go to interviews, and the next morning they want you to get up and do a TV interview, then you do radio and all that, and then you wonder why people start saying, I need a little something to pep me up. It's no wonder, because they wear you to death. I saw that happen. I saw that happen with Whitney. There was times when I wanted to have Bible study, I would have my lesson all worked out, and she wouldn't show up because she was so tired, she'd just be asleep. I remember one time she showed up, and she came to Bible study, and where it says, where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. And so God showed up in such a way. Somebody said that when they prepared the temple in the Old Testament, they took care of all the details, and they figured everything out, the curtains and everything, and they did it exactly as Moses said. But when they finished, and the Spirit of God descended upon that temple, not even the priest could go in there. The Spirit of God was so thick in that place. There we were in Madrid somewhere, in a hotel room, and the Spirit of the living God was, if you'd have walked past that room, you'd have got a blessing. So we were there, and her bodyguard was there. I'll never forget, Pastor, her real bodyguard from England. He was there, and he was just doing his job. You see, he was standing there, and he stoic. He wasn't moving. The Spirit of God began to flow through that room, and we were weeping, and nothing you can do when God settles in. I don't care how strong you are, God comes into the room. See, that's what you need. Let me mention that. These crack houses around here, pray that the Spirit of God slides up in that place.
All right.
You can't smoke crack, but the Spirit of God. Certain things you can't do, you can barely lift your head up. And so I remember that day, like it was yesterday, and we were just lifting our hands. We didn't know what else to do. We were trying to sing a song. We couldn't get the song out. We were trying to pray a prayer. We couldn't pray. We were trying to quote some scripture. We couldn't talk. We just... People say, what's praying in tongues? I said, that's when you're trying to talk. And the Spirit says, shut up, let me talk. Spirit, somebody says, you can't even get a word. Spirit of God. You've heard of laser surgery, right? Spirit of God can get up in there and start doing surgery on stuff. I've got this addiction, God, but I can't even get it out. God is going in there with that Spirit of God has zapped that thing right now. All you need is the presence of God. Presence of the living God. So there we were, and I remember her bodyguard standing there. As the minutes began to roll on into, I don't know how long we were there, Pastor. It must have been, I don't know, a couple of hours, but Whitney was there. She had her head in her hands like this. I believe God was just purging her of all that stuff. As the Spirit of God was doing surgery in that moment, I looked over at the bodyguard and he was standing there, and when our eyes met, he said, he just started talking. He said, well, you know, I don't really believe in all this holy religion and all that. I don't believe in God. I think there's no place. He just started rambling. He said, if there's a God, if God is so loving and good and kind, why did he take my mother when I was 12? Why did he take my father when I was 13? And he started going through all the anguish and the disappointment and the pain in his life that had built wall after wall between him and the living God. Sometimes it's no coincidence that people are not willing to just receive the truth because they've been through so much. That's why we can't just come up to folk talking about the 4 spiritual laws. Don't just walk in there talking about you need to be said. Look, you need to shut up. You don't know what I've been through. Oh, but when the Spirit of God is there, he begins to melt all that stuff there. That was what was happening in that moment. God was breaking up the fallow ground in his life, and God was melting all those stony places in his heart, and he knew it, but he didn't know what to say. And he said, I don't believe in that. I said, brother, God bless him. And I just hugged him. I didn't say anything about the spiritual laws. I didn't quote any scripture to him. I just hugged him. I said, brother, just give in to him. Give in to him. Somebody need to hear that today. Just give in to him. Don't try to figure it out. Give in to him. Don't worry about what the ramifications of it are. You see, if Jesus had worried about the ramifications of going the Via Dolorosa, the way of the cross, the way of suffering and torment, you and I would be in a world of trouble. But he cast aside all of that. And the angels scratched their heads. So what do you mean you're going to send the Son down to earth to suffer and die? What are you talking about? This is the sovereign potentate of the universe. He who spoke and the world obeyed and took form. This is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, the blessed Lamb of God, sweet, spotless Lamb of God. What do you mean you're going to send him to die on the cross? That's crazy. And God the Father said, I know, but I can't help myself. And you see, that's the message of the cross, and I believe that's the message of this song that Whitney recorded that day. I look back on it, when I was there at the funeral, and we were, Ricky Minor and myself and all of us were there with our instruments, and we almost couldn't play. And then at the time when they walked, they hoisted Whitney up on their shoulders, and they began to walk out, and they played this song, and the lyric, it occurred to me for the first time when I heard it in that moment. The lyric said, and I was thinking of Christ in that moment, Pastor. He said, if I should stay, he said, I would only be in the way. The disciples, they couldn't believe it. Peter said, no way, we won't let them do anything to you. Jesus, there's no way. He said, be quiet, Peter, get behind me, I've got to do this. He said, if I should stay, I'd only be in the way of God's plan. He said, so I'll go. And yet, I know I'll think of you. Even in your mess, in your addiction, and your weakness, and your sin. I see in you, I see the thing I want you to be. I see where I want to take you. I see the God in you. I see the presence of the living God in you. And I'm willing to go there. He said, so I'll go and I'll think of you every step of the way. And I will always love you. saxophone players and trombones and trumpets. I mean, where y'all at? Come on. Come on, man. Trumpet, whatever y'all got. I know there's at least one pretty girl with a saxophone over there. Arkansas's finest. Where your horn at, girl? We need to do a jam. We need a Bethel jam up in here. 150 years of love. Give Pastor Crawford, Bethel AME a big round of applause. Stay in the course. I'm truly, truly honored. And I had a CD for you too, Pastor. I want to make sure I give you. But I'm truly grateful that you allow us to be here and be a part of this. This is historic. And the things that they had to go through in order for us to be able to worship God as free people. I'm grateful. I want to say thank you to the forefathers and foremothers of Bethel. We're going to just have some fun about
Baby girl. I thought it was a rapper. We got the rappers in there. Baby girl, though. Let's have some bass.
Get it, man!
go right back there to the bus tent, and we're gonna sign some CDs. So come on over there. We don't have any more record stores, so this is the record store right now. We're gonna sign our CDs. God bless you. Thank you so much, Pastor Crawford. Thank you so much to Bethel. 150 more years.